Boston College men's basketball will look to get back into the winning column on Saturday. We'll preview that game, and we'll talk about BC women's basketball's big win over Syracuse. All of this and more on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. I am also the editor and publisher of BC Bulletin. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you are doing well. I'm over by Boston, and we're getting up to 8 inches of snow today, so I'm going to be stuck indoors, shoveling, doing all sorts of good stuff on a Friday, but it should all be cleared out for a good game on Saturday when Boston College faces off with Pitt. Well, we'll call this the Battle of Tuesdays in Greensboro, because two of the weaker teams in the conference will face off on Saturday as Boston College and Pitt face off in Pittsburgh. So it's a game on the road for the Eagles. Boston College has not won a road game all season long. So this is a big one for BC. They need to figure something out. And to kind of catch up to where we were at, BC is 0-2 in their last two games, but that doesn't really, I don't know if that really is fair to say that it's the last two games, because one game was like a month ago, and that was that disappointing loss to Albany. And then last Sunday, they came back and played against UNC and got shellacked by the Tar Heels at home. So two bad losses in a row for Boston College. Earl Grant was talking about how the team had been in COVID protocols. It had kind of gone through the entire team. And, the team was kind of gassed, but he didn't want to make excuses for anything. He's made that very clear. And I appreciate that about Earl Grant, is that even when there's a built-in opportunity, a disease that could, really not injure, but impact the ability for certain players to play at their full potential, he didn't make that. He said, we got to play better. We got to play better. And so Pitt is going to be one of those games. This is one of those games you circle on your calendar as a game Boston College is going to need to play and win, because, these wins are not going to come very easily for BC now on out, because you get games against Duke and Louisville and Syracuse and NC State. So teams that have beaten BC regularly in the past, those games are going to come up too. Pitt is a team that Boston College should beat. It's on the road, so that's a bit of a challenge. But if you look at their KenPom rating, BC is 144, Pitt is 164, Pitt is 5-9. But don't let their record fool you, because I think Pitt is a lot better than people expect, and I think they're closer to being where they want to be than Boston College is right now. While Boston College has lost some games ugly, like you look at some, like the first URI game, St. Louis, they really weren't in. Against UNC, they were not in. Pitt, on the other hand, has really kind of held their own for most of their games, even the games that they lost. They only lost by 1 to Minnesota, 1 to UVA. They lost by 4 to Monmouth, 1 to Notre Dame. So, they're not a bad team, and it seems like they're trending in the right direction. They've won 2 out of their last 4, which, given that they're not supposed to be near the top of the ACC, that's not a bad stat. And they were a 3-pointer away in their last game from beating Louisville or getting in a tie game against Louisville. So Pitt's pretty good, and they haven't won an ACC game yet. Boston College is only 1-1 in the ACC, but we'll have to see how Boston College rebounds after a really tough loss. As we said on Monday's show, Boston College did not look very, there was a lot of issues with BC in Sunday's game. All different, situational plays they were just struggling with. They could not shoot 3-pointers to save their life. They couldn't play much on defense. They were getting beaten really bad physically. They just couldn't get much done. And UNC, they just went out and lost to Notre Dame, a team Boston College beat. So we don't know what Boston College team is going to show up. And again, it's on the road. They're going to need to play much better. And what they need to do is get that offense going, because if BC is going to go out there and shoot poorly from 3-point range, and they don't have a lot of guys that can shoot accurately from the 3-point range right now, they need to figure out other things to do on offense. And I don't know where that's going to come from. I would love to see Gianni Thompson out there more. They need to get some more depth and be able to have a rotation that gets guys off the bench so you don't have, Makai Ashton Langford playing, 35 minutes a game. You can sit him for a little bit and get a guy like Gianni Thompson in there. Need to get Brevin Galloway going as well. Now, it's nice to see him back, but he shot 2 of 10 from the field. That's not going to cut it. He needs to shoot much better. When he's feeling good and he's getting a good shot, he's also very, very valuable. And I'd love to see BC up their aggression on defense. I know that you can't go with traps and full court press the whole game, but throw it in there more, because when BC does it, it seems like it really catches oppositions off guard and really helps them get back in the game. So maybe throw it in and sprinkle it in a little bit more than what they're doing. That might also help as well. In terms of predictions, I don't think BC's going to win this game. And here's why. I think it's going to be a closer game because I said his Pitt's not as good as some of these other teams they're playing against. But BC, I feel like they're not in the right frame right now. And I feel like they're going to take another step back before they start to step forward. And this will be one of those disappointing losses. So I'm going to take Pitt winning like 77-70. And BC will continue their slide. Now, in a moment, we'll get more positive because I don't want to be negative the whole time. And we're going to jump in and talk about women's basketball. Hey, Eagles fans, this is AJ Black with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code SCORE and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's up to 50 cents cash back per gallon. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code SCORE to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making up as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or even an e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code SCORE to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. That's code SCORE for 50 cents a gallon on Get Upside. All right, folks, BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. So head on over to BetOnline, where the game starts. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. Now, I don't get a chance to always get into some of the sports that we don't normally talk about a lot of. And today I want to give a chance to shout out women's basketball, who have started off the season red hot, playing really well, as they improved to 10-4 with a 95-71 win over Syracuse on Thursday night. Big win for the women, led by Maria Gakdeng, who had 21 points just on the heels of winning Freshman Women of the Week. She is a guard playing really, really well as a freshman. She did it all for BC. She had 21 points, 9 rebounds, and shot really well. Did what she needed to do. Then on top of that, this team, this was a game. Syracuse is usually a good team. They had a coaching change after last season. They were 8-4 heading into this game, and so it was 8-5. Excuse me. BC needed a big win, and they got exactly that. They shot 57% from the field. They shot 50% from three-point range. BC was in control of this game from start to finish, which is really good because if you had been paying attention to the team a couple weeks ago, they had a very winnable game against UNC. A game that not winnable, but a game that they were playing like they should have won it, and they fell apart late. BC jumps out to an early lead. They were up 49-30 at halftime, and they just kept their foot on the gas. They did not let up at all in this game, and that's a credit to this team. Joanna McNamee is one of my favorite coaches on Boston College campus because she is a winner down deep, and I think she has this program heading in the right direction. And you just have to look at some of the freshmen she's brought in and some of the names that you've seen coming in. whether it's, Maria Gakdang, who's playing really well, Jalen Batts, you're seeing her start to jump up a little bit more, but even bringing in like solid transfers, Darntavia Wagner from South Carolina, she had 9 points in that game. Cam Schwartz, she's been a regular scorer. She had 11 points. So, I wonder, at 10-4, they're sitting right on that cusp of being a tournament team this year. And it was only 2 years ago that women's basketball was going to be in the tournament, and then COVID hit and it took them out. If you remember just 2 years ago, 2020, that was the year they made it like 3 rounds into the ACC tournament and stunned a few teams on their way out. Joanna McNamee was ACC Coach of the Year. You had all the hype around Taylor Soule, and I'm starting to feel it again. I'm starting to feel that this team is starting to head into that direction. They're not a perfect team, and the hard part about women's basketball is the schools are so top heavy. Like, you're gonna have a couple programs, whether it's Baylor or NC State last year, UConn, that are just so good that you just don't have a chance. But you have to look at what you expect for success for women's basketball. Getting to the tournament, winning a game or two there, maybe getting further along the ACC tournament. I could see this team doing this. They're deep. They have really good talent. They're scoring, and they're winning. They're 10-4. That's really good. So if you get a chance to, here's my plug. Check out the women's basketball team. They're an exciting team, and I really do, as I said before, Joanna McNamee has this program heading in the right direction, and they're going to be relevant, and they're going to be a fun group to watch. So you're going to want to make sure that you're following along. They've got some really fun players, and they're just going to get better. I think they're recruiting really well. So they're bringing in 4-star recruits in the women's world. You don't get to see like a lot of it's a little different than like Rivals or 247. But if you look at some of the guys, women that they're bringing in, it's impressive. So 10-4 for the women's basketball team. Next game for them is against the Clemson Tigers, a 6-8 Clemson Tiger team that's 0-3 in the conference, and they just lost to the same Syracuse team that BC just smoked by 40 points. So this should be an easy win for Joanna McNamee's squad. Boston College should, this is what's really exciting about a good team in the ACC, and especially in basketball, is when they start rolling, they can start really racking up some wins. And so, when you're playing this well against a team that poor, Boston College should roll against Clemson. And yeah, it's a road game, but I still think BC should be an easy favorite. And just as a plug, just check them out. The game will be on TV, and you'll be able to check it out. It is on the RSN, so it'll be on NESN, and that game is on Sunday at noon. So check out women's basketball. They're on the verge. If they win against Clemson, they're going to be 11-4. They're probably going to start getting some votes for top 25 teams. I don't think they'll get there yet, but they're going to start getting in that conversation. So if you like watching some good basketball, and the men's aren't playing all that great, check out the women. I know they're a little different, but I think they're a lot of fun, and there's a lot of good basketball and really good fundamentals taught by Joanna McNamee to her squad. In our final segment, I'm going to get into all sorts of news, including transfer portal news, coaching rumors, and everything in between. Now, if you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of the Built Bar. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar because it is so good for you. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good, you'll want to eat it. They have so many great flavors like coconut almond, raspberry, mint brownie, salted caramel, cookies and cream, and all sorts of specialty bars that you'll just find when you head over to Built.com. Even if you're not a fan of working out, you can at least eat something that tastes good, and it is good for you. That way, when you enjoy a delicious Built Bar, you can almost count it as a workout. Now, go over to Built.com, and when you make your first order, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. And even better, even if you've made orders there before, use promo code LOCKED15, you're going to get 15% off your order too. Just head over to Built.com and use promo code LOCK15 for that offer. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you had a good week. It's been crazy. Hopefully you're at home and healthy and everything's going well for you this week. Now, if you have not done so already, and you're on your computer at home, make sure you hit bookmark for our site, BC Bulletin. We'll be giving you BC news all over the place. And we've had some great breaking news over the last couple days that you're not going to want to miss. First of all, Kobe White. Many of you, I know he was a huge fan favorite for many Boston College fans. He was he and Anthony Brown kind of were like the lone symbols of a passing game before Zay Flowers got there. And then unfortunately for Kobe White, he had 2 knee injuries during his time with Jeff Hafley. Last year and then this year, he was hurt again and missed the last 2 seasons. He entered the transfer portal. I get the feeling that he was one of those guys that Boston College just did not have space for, with the super seniors and with guys that were, pushing up the roster like Jaden Williams, Ethan Williams, Taji Johnson, Lewis Bond. Some of the other guys that were just kind of hanging around, and I'm sure Kobe can still play, but maybe, the injuries have kind of taken its toll. We're told to kind of, unfortunately, we don't have any room for you. So he's heading to James Madison. Now, interestingly enough, that's the second Boston College player to head to James Madison. Safety Deion Jones earlier this year also committed to James Madison. And I can tell you, and I'm not making this up, I reached out to my sources at BC. James Madison's head coach is Kirk Cignetti. Now, if that last name sounds familiar to you, that's because his brother Frank is Boston College's offensive coordinator. So there's a connection between James Madison and Boston College. And I can tell you that Frank, it sounds like he put in a good word for those guys to get a spot. And that's if you're going to lose guys and not push them out, but basically tell them that it's time to move on, getting them a new spot is the best thing you can do in this new transfer portal world. Because right now there's 1,600 people in the transfer portal, more than last year when the numbers were absurd. So spots are going to be hard to find. And so Boston College was able to get these 2 guys and find them a new role. That's awesome. That really shows that, and that's credit to the Deion and Kobe because they're both good players too. But for them to be able to find a new home and that the Cignetti connection helped with that shows you how much this team does care for their players, even if they're not competing still on the field. Also in the news, in hockey news, Matt Boldy, a former Boston College forward, he was I almost called it Heisman. He was a Hobie Baker finalist last year for Boston College. He didn't win it. He got called up on Thursday by the Minnesota Wild, and in his first game, he's a Massachusetts native, he got to play against the Boston Bruins. Really cool story. He's a rookie, he gets called up, gets to play at home, home from where he's from, Boston. He gets a box full of his former players. I know Nikita Nazarenko was there. I think Jack McBain was there as well. And some of his family members all got to go see him play. That would be a great story just in itself. I mean, can you think if your kid is playing and you get to stay at home and watch him? That's awesome. I mean, not at home, but you get to go to the stadium and watch him at home. That's great. So that in itself would be a great story. However, the story gets even better because in the game, Minnesota was down 3-2, and who scores his first goal of his career? Matt Boldy. Matt Boldy, in his first game, scores a game-tying goal. That's an awesome thing. He does it in front of his family, his friends, his former teammates. An awesome moment for Boldy, and, he's going to be a name to watch for. He's a very highly touted forward, I think, that has unlimited potential. He was a top 12 pick, I think, in the draft a couple of years ago by the Wild. He's going to be a really fun name. Obviously when you have the Kevin Hayeses and Johnny Gaudreaus and even, Spencer Knight's out there, to have the new blood in there too. I mean, Spencer Knight's new blood, but on the offensive board, on offense, you have guys like Matt Boldy and Alex Newhook. It just, again, shows you what Jerry York has been able to do in terms of getting good talent at Boston College and getting them up to the pros. Speaking of hockey, 2 Boston College players were named Hockey East Players of the Month. You first had Mark McLaughlin, their senior, named Hockey East Player of the Month. He had 4 goals in 4 games and was a dynamic. He was an offensive player of the month, and he's the captain. He's been there forever. Great for him. And then on defense, Jack St. Ivani was named Defensive Player of the Month. Jackson St. Avani, I haven't talked about very much on the podcast. He's a Yale transfer. Interesting story about him about a month ago. He's actually signed to the Tom Brady brand. And he is a spokesperson for them. So through NIL, he's getting a deal to be a spokesperson. So good for him. But he was also named Hockey East Player of the Defenseman of the Month. So two of the big awards for Hockey East go to two Boston College players. And finally, it's not much of a surprise, but Marcus Valdez is returning. I kind of assumed he was anyways, but he has one more season. He led Boston College in sacks with 5 last year. We just graded the defensive line on bcbulletin.com, and he was one of the bright spots on that defensive line. I love his play. I would love to see what he would be able to do with another solid defensive end across from him, because I think, he's good. He just needs a Batman to his Robin, and we'll have to see what he does next year. He's a big time leader in the locker room, but he is back for one more season with the Eagles. This is AJ Black. We'll be back on Monday to review the Pittsburgh game, talk about any breaking news from the weekend, and continue to dive into football postseason analysis with Mitch Wolf. So you're going to want to check that out. Thank you all for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. I'm the editor and publisher of BCBulletin.com. Make sure you follow us there. If you have not done so already, we have Maroon and Gold forums where you can go and talk to other BC fans. I post all the time in there. It's a great forum to talk to other BC people. It is absolutely free for the free parts of the boards. His premium, where I give out tips and news and analysis that you won't get anywhere else. You can pay for that as part of your BC Bulletin premium subscription, but hit me up on Twitter. I can explain more about that. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all again soon. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care.